what you're going to need for this is you need to get a different piece of gray paper, and you're going to notice once I give this to you, you may not see it on here, but this is a darker gray. It's a different gray. I want you to practice on two different types so you can see which kind you like better. And then you need to get a lid from me, maybe tapioca pudding, it may be sour cream, but get the lid for me, cottage cheese. All right, and then what you're going to do is we're going to use this as a template, and over towards the left side, right, not all the way to the edge, but a little bit towards the left, and leave some room down here on the bottom, so don't put it here. We're going to go up, just ignore that line right there. We're going to just use that to trace our image, and we are going to create a sphere. All right, so just like our sphere drawings we've done before, our light source is going to be coming up this way, all right, from the top left. So we should have a highlight right through here. We should be about midway through here. We should have a core shadow through here. Then we're also going to have our cast shadow going off. So we're going to practice both of this coming off. Do this lightly. All right, remember, don't outline different things, but you should have a highlight right in here too. So we're going to do this with the black and white charcoal. I'm going to go through this, maybe talk a little bit, but then I'm going to stop talking and speed it up so you can kind of see how I do it. I am going to do it one way. You may find a better way of doing it, but the idea is to get the end result similar to what I have. Okay, so what I would do to start off with is I would do a couple different things. I personally would start out with this charcoal, or the vine charcoal, because it seems to be kind of the lightest. And then just lightly, I'm not super heavy here, I'm going to put a layer down. That one seems to be a little darker than this one, so. And like I said, you guys can use whatever, and neatness is going to count on this, so try to stay inside, and remember we want to go with the contour of our shape form. Okay, so I'm going to start out about right in here. I'm going to get this nice and even with my vine. I don't want to go in with the pencil. The pencil is going to be too dark. This is going to lighten up once I start putting some tissue paper or something else on it, or my blending stump. Okay, and I still don't know which one I used for the white in here. I think it was this one, but okay, so now I'm going to lighten this up just a little bit, and then I'm going to bring that charcoal in and make that be my lighter value. Let's try this side of it. So again, I'm going to go the same contour of the image. And then I'm going to pull that value in. That will help kind of lighten it up a little bit. Still not, we want it nice and smooth. I'll show you how to fix that here in a little bit. So I do want to show you something. If you layered that down and you went like this and went in a hurry and then went over it like this, you can still see those lines through there. So we don't want to, you've got to cover it as nice and even as possible. So now what we want to do is we want to try to get this, and you can use your fingers, okay? Charcoal's a messy medium, right? But sometimes you just got to use whatever you feel more comfortable. Maybe use a piece of paper towel. Maybe you use some toilet paper, okay? But notice how that's lightening up a little bit, okay? But I'm also trying to stay inside. Yes, I can erase, but I'll do that later. So I want to kind of stop about right in here, all right? So we want the gray of our paper to be our mid-tone. I would probably, actually, I think I kind of got a little bit too much here, so I'm going to take my kneaded eraser and I'm going to erase out some of this. And you'll notice then it'll start getting really dirty, so you got to kind of string it, I guess is what you call it. So I'm going to take some of this out because I think that's too dark, and then I'm going to try to go back in and smooth that out the best I can. There we go. Okay, so we've got kind of a medium to a light. You can do a couple of different things, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the highlight. So I'm going to do my highlight super strong right here, kind of like our value scale. Start out heavy, but then I'm going to fade this out. So I'm going to start lightening up as I come around. And remember, this is kind of an ellipse. Probably really should have started out with this instead of putting it into the gray. Here's the tough part. You really don't want this white to go into that gray too much. All right, so I have a little bit in there. But now I need to start fading this out a little bit. I'm just going to go over the whole thing. I'm not pushing down really heavy right there, but you can see that's already lightened it up. All right, and we're going to bring that out a little bit more around the edges so we don't see a really sharp edge. Another thing I could do is take this charcoal dust like we talked about. I'm going to start in the middle and then maybe move it outward a little bit more too, so it fades that out. So it kind of looks like a haze. And again, notice when I'm even blending, I'm going in the circular. You don't want to go straight up and down. You want to go in the same form that you see it. All right. Now, because I have blended that in, I've kind of lost some of this. I'm going to go back in and make this a little bit heavier. So you can kind of see that, but then I got to kind of lighten up those lines a little bit too. Go back over the edge. All right, so not a lot of white there, but we're not super dark here. We don't really have our core shadow, but we've got a base. So now what I'm going to do is go in with my charcoal pencil and put down my really, really heavy areas. And remember, it kind of comes up and around. Again, I'm going in the same form, and then I'm lightening up a little bit as I come around here. Keeping it nice and smooth. I'm not in a hurry. If need be, put a piece of paper down there. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. Because remember, we still want a reflective light. You don't really, might be able to do the reflective light with some white. Let's see what we got here. I'm going to fade this out a little bit. So it's all about pencil pressure. All right, then I'm going to take my blending stump, right, and use it on this one. Try to smooth that out a little bit, but I don't want to push down too hard because I don't want it to blend in. I don't want it to all be one gray, but I want to try to fade that out. I kind of like that a little bit. Notice I'm kind of keeping it together. Same thing with my blending stump. I want to kind of lighten up on my pressure as I get into the lighter areas. So I'm letting up a little bit. And if need be, my hand's already dirty, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's try that too. We'll try both ways. And it doesn't really smooth really well. So you see what works for you. The idea is to get that gradual change. Okay, and I got to find a way to smooth that out here in a minute. And then get this to go super, super dark. And then I'm going to show you a way to put that reflective highlight in. All right, so you can see, like I can see a jump right there. So that's probably where I want to take this. Or, actually, I could probably take the charcoal dust and see if I can blend that in a little bit. So I'm going to come over here and recharge a little bit. And this is kind of where I like the, some people like the charcoal dust, some people don't. You got to figure out what works for you. So that's why we're doing these practice things. I'm going to take some of the dust here and put up here. You may have to kind of scrub it in a little bit because this is a soft brush. But we do want to keep this kind of nice and neat and even. We're still going in the same direction. All right, and you can see some splotches in there, so I would go back in and kind of smooth that out as best as I can. So I'm going to leave this for now. I'm not saying it's perfect. It is not A+. You can, like I said, kind of see the splotchiness to it, but you can see it's got a core shadow, and it's got the midtone, and then it's got the highlight. Now let's talk about that reflective light. That's where I would take the eraser. Your eraser is going to be part of your drawing tool, so you may want to take it and kind of, we don't want it all the way out. We don't want it as light as the paper. So I'm going to put some charcoal dust back in there here in a minute. I'm just kind of pinching my blending, or not my blending, so my kneaded eraser. All right, so it's really kind of too light. So again, I am going to take what I do with that brush, and I'm going to get some more of this dust and kind of put it in there, but put it in there lightly. All right, so it's not as light as that background. So I apologize. This is a little bit longer video, but just kind of follow along and it kind of helps. Again, we don't want that to be a sharp edge right there. We want it to be. Okay, then we're going to put in the reflective, or not the reflective, the cast shadow. So we're going to go super dark here. Super dark here. So I'm going really heavy pencil pressure. Turn this a little bit. And then as it comes out, it's going to fade out. So I'm going really heavy. And then I'm letting up on my pencil pressure. Letting up. Letting up so much I might even take some vine in here. Actually, I'm going to take some vine, kind of charge over here. Get this. So you can kind of see some different ways to get some really light areas with different tools. Okay, you can see that the pencil kind of gives you a little bit more texture to it. And again, you can use your blending stump too if need be. Just be careful. If I get it really charged here and then go into here, we don't want that. Okay, so be careful you don't overuse this. You can erase this just like we do the other one. So we're going to lighten up. That should get lighter as it comes across. This should get lighter as it comes to the back. Again, we don't outline these. Right? Let the value be the edge of our shape. And then let it kind of, I'm going to bring that out just a little bit further. All right, so I wouldn't have that in there. So that's pretty close to what you're going to want. I would clean up, so after I'm done, I would go in with my eraser and clean up these edges to make sure they're pretty clean. And I'd probably go back in with a brush and smooth that out a little bit. That's what we're shooting for, okay? So sphere is your last one. When you're done with that, you're going to hand this in, you're going to hand in your value scale, and you're going to hand in your worksheet to me. If you have any questions, ask.